Whole towns evacuated as the East troublesome fire explodes.
This is the worst of the worst of the worst.
Now it could merge with the largest fire in state history.
It just made a run.
Tonight, the frantic escape.
Being evacuated into a pandemic is terrifying.
How crews are battling a disaster that is years in the making.
We've been anticipating something like this.
Another day of remarkable growth by the East troublesome fire sends people fleeing from two mountain towns.
The fire is now the second largest fire in state history at 170,000 acres, growing another 50,000 acres today. Cast an eerie glow over Estes Park as those residents evacuated. This was this afternoon. Gridlocked traffic at points with so many vehicles and only a few major roadways to get out. Video from Loveland Fire Rescue Authority shows the scene as crews rushed in to help out. This was taken around 2:30 this afternoon on Highway 34 heading into Estes Park.
Those terrifying skies are just one sign of really how dangerous this fire is. Take a look at this security cam video from a home in Grand Lake. You can see the embers blowing in before flames take over the area. Big concern right now is the possibility the state's two biggest fires ever, the East Lonesome and the Cameron Peak, will actually merge. Tonight, they're an estimated 10 miles apart.
We do have team coverage for you. Jeff Todd looking into why this is happening. Alan Janae with an update on the state's firefighting resources. Dylan Thomas catching up with evacuees who have fled to the Front Range. But we start with Jamie Leary. And Jamie, you've been in Granby all day today. People getting out are really concerned, of course, about what they're leaving behind.
And while the winds have died down, right now we are seeing to the west of us flames just above the town of Granby. The sheriff says right now there are structures lost, but the priority is protection of life. And we talked to one man who, despite losing his home, worked to help fire crews through Wednesday night. And he says the fact that this was human caused is a tough pill to swallow.
Got my daughter, my wife, and my mom and her family and good friends with us.
Matthew Reed barely had time to escape.
We got like 4 bags of clothes out of the house. Everything else is gone.
He worked hard to build his home in Grand Lake. On Wednesday, it burned to the ground.
It's been a little bit of a train ride, for sure. We've been in our house for 11 months. Took 3 years to build it, and it's gone.
Adding to the pain is the fact that it was human caused.
Now it's cost, I don't even know how many people's houses, all my friends. This morning I heard 400 homes.
Reed, along with a friend, helped local crews through Wednesday night who were running out of fuel.
We took a trailer in my truck and we took up approximately 1,000 gallons worth of gas and diesel to them to keep them going.
Even the county public works director was there. Reed says he's a hero.
He was up all night in a town loader going around pushing trees, down power lines, everything out of the way so the fire guys could get around and save one house to another.
He still worries about those who stayed behind. His neighbors, an elderly couple, are among them. Their house was destroyed.
The fire chief confirmed that he got there with the help of the public works director of Grand Lake and one of the town loaders, and it's gone. The basement's gone.
Now, the sheriff said today there have been no reports of injuries or loss of life. If you need assistance with shelter or anything of that nature and have been impacted by these fires, the Silverthorne Rec Center is open, as well as the Isle of Capri Casino in Black Hawk, where Red Cross are standing by. Live in Granby, Jamie Leary, CBS 4 Mountain Newsroom.
Just heart-wrenching. Jamie, thank you. So many stories like that. And with nearly all of Estes Park under mandatory or voluntary evacuation, thousands of people are heading to the Front Range with cars full of whatever they can manage to pack in a hurry. Dylan Thomas at an evacuation shelter in Loveland right now. And Dylan, so many people needing emergency housing. Those places are filling up fast.
Yeah, Jim, between the East Troublesome Fire and the Cameron Peak Fire, massive evacuation shelters like the Embassy Suites right behind me off I-25 and Crossroads are quickly filling up, leaving the Red Cross with no other option but to rent rooms elsewhere. We spoke with evacuees who said the fire blew up so quickly overnight that they had to evacuate with virtually no notice.
Everyone was freaking out.
Almost as quickly as the East Troublesome Fire exploded.
It's awful.
Residents in western Estes Park were rushed out of their homes.
It was just chaotic getting out of there.
Trying to pack all of our things and stuff it into the car and get out of there.
For thousands of Coloradans near Estes Park, like the Smiths,
They
told us that it was voluntary.
This morning.
So we started packing our cars, and it seemed like 10 minutes later, it was mandatory. So we were right on the fringe initially. So we said, we're out of here.
Home for the immediate future will be with family, friends, or the Red Cross.
The next question is...
We're talking maybe over 6,000 people were just evacuated.
With 1,300 evacuees from the Cameron Peak fire already being housed by the Red Cross, the Embassy Suites shelter in Loveland quickly filled, forcing many from Estes to resort to other area hotels.
It was stressful, but God is in control, and we're just praying for everybody.
Now, a spokesperson for the Red Cross tells me during her tenure, this is the largest response she's seen her organization have in all of Colorado. Currently, it's the second largest response for the Red Cross in our country right now. And some fear if it continues as these winds are blowing, it could become the largest over that of California. Reporting live in eastern Larimer County, Dylan Thomas covering Colorado First.
Dylan, thank you. Colorado needs two things to make a difference right now: a change in the weather and resources. We often see our own crews heading out of state to help out. Well, now others are returning the favor. Members of the Hutchinson, Kansas Fire Department arrived in Granby today. They posted this video and some pictures on Facebook. The team linked up with firefighters from Wichita to help out. Alan Janae covering this difficult firefight. Alan, getting ahead of these fires is more like a marathon.
Really tough mission for sure, Karen. I got a little good information a short time ago. They have been worried a lot about Granby tonight with the winds turning, but as darkness fell, the winds moderated a little bit, so this fire is not on the move like it was earlier today or last night. A firefighting source tells me that the core of the town of Grand Lake is intact. The damage seems to be around it. Firefighters, though, are still worried about Estes Park. Should the fire that's currently in Rocky Mountain National Park get turned by winds, that's why they set evacuations there, because they know it would be very difficult for a lot of people to get out of that town should this fire move in there.
How long are you going to be?
In Granby, there was little time. Voluntary, then mandatory, time to go.
In these kind of conditions, it means move now.
The head of Colorado's fire chiefs had a simple description.
This is like a nuclear bomb going off.
As Granby emptied and emergency vehicles rushed from one incident to another, the fire jumped and dodged.
If it's been calm, that doesn't mean it's going to stay calm. Where it tracked more towards the Grand Lake area, it's going to start tracking down more towards Granby.
There was and will continue to be a limited air attack because of the wind. Retardant is of limited help.
Almost becomes ineffective. They're trying hard, but it's a real challenge because the retardant doesn't stay together. It blows apart with the wind.
During a news conference, the sheriff said they have no count on homes lost and may not have for a while.
There's so much smoke and active fire in that area right now. I can't put deputies in there and focus on those efforts.
The fire is now a top priority for resources, said the incident manager, but there are limits.
Doesn't mean that there have magically appeared a lot of suppression resources, unfortunately.
A fire that has grown like no other had firefighters texting each other with worried messages.
Final sentence of his text message said, "It is coming."
Now, there's a lot of discussion about the potential of the East Troublesome and the Cameron Peak fires meeting up. Well, that fire information officer I talked with said that is not necessarily as bad as it sounds. It wouldn't likely create a superstorm fire, but the fires would run into each other and then burn back on each other, and that, in effect, may just slow it down a little bit. In Granby, I'm Alan Janae, covering Colorado First.
Interesting. Thank you, Alan. In just this one fire season, Colorado has now endured 3 of the largest fires in our state's history. So what has made this year so dangerous? Well, our Jeff Todd got the answers. Joins us tonight from Lakewood. Jeff?
Jim, this is also the headquarters of the Rocky Mountain Area Coordination Center. They monitor all the fires in Colorado and the surrounding states, and they keep data on all of that, which shows over the past 20 years, more acres are burning in the state. But this year, conditions were perfect for fires to explode in size.
We've been anticipating something like this, and nobody really knew exactly how it was going to shake out.
The locations of Colorado's massive fires have been different, but the conditions this year are the same. It's what officials have feared for decades.
It's been a very steady stream of hot, dry, and windy weather this summer. The fuels have just not been tolerant to that.
Worsening drought and pine beetle-killed forests have laid the foundation.
The fuels are ready. They just needed an ignition, and then they needed something to drive them through the landscape.
The moisture dating back to the spring has been far too sparse.
They just haven't been regular enough. Those intervals have been too long, and those fuels have been able to dry out too far.
Add in gusty winds ahead of large weather patterns, and the fires have been driven to historic sizes.
The fire spots ahead of itself. There's a receptive fuel bed out there that catches an ember or many embers and ignites itself and propagates the fire.
2020 will certainly be studied for years to try and help fire crews in the future.
And have models that have been run against, the fires that we've had, so that we have a better understanding about how fire propagates through the landscape.
Over the past 5 years, the data in Colorado shows that wildfires are burning later into the year. This is the most destructive October on record. What fire officials tell us they're going to be looking for in 2021 is significant snowfall in the spring, March, April, and May, and then a rainy monsoon. Reporting live tonight, Jeff Todd, covering Colorado First.
Jeff, thank you. We've been talking about it. It's happening. Help from the weather is on the way. Lauren Whitney tracking things from the Colorado Weather Center.
Snow is on the way, but ahead of it, there will be a lot more wind. We'll talk about the wind and the cold and the snow coming up.
Also ahead, Sean Boyd on tonight's presidential debate.
20,000 Americans dead.
We're rounding the corner. It's going away.
And coming up in sports, will weather play a factor in Sunday's Broncos game? Why Vic Fangio says past history says no. Plus, a chilly night for some high school football. Highlights between Dakota Ridge and Stanley Lake.